What's the funniest thing a kid ever said to you? After my school exams ended, I decided to spend the holiday at my older sister's house, and it was kind of a tradition, not just because I loved my niece and nephew, but because her husband had a car I could only dream of driving. It was a black G-Wagon, shiny, powerful, and perfect for showing off. So as a responsible uncle, I offered to do school runs, dropping the kids off and picking them up, and that gave me full access to the G-Wagon for at least 2 hours a day, and I made sure to use every minute wisely. Each morning, I'd drive those kids to school like a rich family man, and then hit the road like I just cashed out crypto. I took long routes through busy streets, snapped mirror selfies, posted them to my story, and sometimes when I got the chance, I gave fine LA babes a lift. I was living a fantasy life I couldn't really afford, but it felt good. And everything was going well until one random afternoon. I had picked the twins up from school, and as we drove home, I noticed my nephew was unusually quiet. Normally, the boy was full of deep and silly questions, like if a spider bit Spider-Man and gave him powers, does that mean a bat bit Batman too? Or sometimes he'd talk about cartoons or argue with his sister about which Power Ranger is the strongest. But that day, he just sat there with no noise and seemed really sad. His sister was humming and licking ice cream, completely unbothered, but my guy in the backseat looked like life had dealt him a heavy blow. I figured maybe he was hungry or tired, so I decided to cheer him up. I pulled over at his favorite spot and bought chocolate ice cream and pizza, and his sister ate hers happily, but my nephew didn't touch his. When we got home, I set them up with cartoons and snacks while I went to my room to message one of the girls I gave a ride to earlier because I wanted to keep the fun going. But soon my niece came to my door and told me he was crying again. So I put my phone down because it was time for big uncle duty. And in my head, I thought maybe someone bullied him at school, so I was ready to give a motivational speech, and I even remembered some kung fu moves his mom once taught me, just in case he needed a lesson in standing up for himself. And sure, those moves never worked for me, and I got beat up more times than I care to admit, but it's the thought that counts. When I found him, I wasn't ready for what I saw. He was crying real tears, not fake ones for attention, but deep ones from his heart. I knelt beside him, kept my voice soft, and told him I was there to fix whatever was wrong. So he wiped his nose with his hand, and I patted his back, trying to make him feel safe, and told him to talk to me because he could trust me and to tell me what happened. Finally, he sniffled and whispered that his classmates insulted him, and I nodded, ready to help, and asked what they said. He looked me in the eye for a second and told me they said he looked like me, and my spirit left my body for a moment, and before I could say anything, I heard giggling. So I turned to see his sister standing there, licking her ice cream, smiling like she just heard the funniest joke in the world. So I asked how looking like me was an insult, and she laughed louder and told me it was because I was ugly. I was shocked because I always thought I looked good and posted selfies with confidence. But when a kid calls you ugly, it hits hard, and it feels true, with no way to argue back. I didn't even try to fight it, and just stood up, walked to her, and took the ice cream from her hand, and told her she could have it back when I was handsome again. Now both kids were crying, and I went to my room, locked the door, sat on the bed, and cried too. And we all just cried together that day.